was like 4 hours later. Shut off for 15 minutes. Like 4 hours later, somebody went to get me at like the truck. So they took all the work.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Jenny, roll call, please.
Amy Riddle Swanson.
Here.
Charlie Schneider.
Here.
Mark Hillman.
Here.
Angie Skillings. Here. Carl Palmer.
Here.
Abe Smith.
Here.
Dominique Stewart.
Here.
Rachel Henderson.
Here.
Dale Welke.
Here. Okay, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our mission statement, the school district of the Menomonie area, by embracing the unique needs and using the strengths of our diverse community, is dedicated to preparing all students to become lifelong learners, caring individuals, and responsible citizens. Anyone have any suggested agenda order revisions to the agenda? Hearing none. Recommendations and commendations. We have one this evening. Rachel.
All right, I will read from down here, but this is for Tawny Nelson. The board recognizes Tawny for her work as a special education paraeducator at Oaklawn Elementary. She always has a positive attitude. Every child she comes in contact with is treated with kindness and respect, and we're lucky to have her in the SCMA. Thank you, Tawny.
Okay, on to community communications. We have one this evening, Mrs. Pillman.
My name is Joseph Pillman, and I live at 235 3rd Avenue East, apartment 5, in Knapp, Wisconsin. Dr. Zadowski, President Schneider, and members of the board, thank you for affording me the opportunity to again address you with my concerns regarding the SDMA gender policy plan. I've often been referred to Wisconsin State Statute 118.13 to explain that we as a school district must follow our gender policy plan or we may be liable for a lawsuit. I want to explain the fallacy of this position. First, we must always do the right thing, even if that may bring unfavorable consequences. In this case, we must do the right thing for the sake of our children. Second, we in Menomonie must set forth our own standard. It does not need to copy standards set in Madison or California. If those standards are wrong, unreasonable, make no common sense, are unacceptable for our community or harmful to our children, we can and must object for the sake of our children. They are worth it. Let me summarize a section of Wisconsin Statute 118.13. No person in any public school shall be denied the benefits of or be discriminated against because of a person's sexual orientation. First, what does it mean to discriminate against? Do we discriminate against a thief when we tell them that they must follow the rules and not steal? Do we discriminate against a student when we tell them that they cannot look at their neighbor's paper and thus cheat? Do we discriminate against a 5-year-old when we tell them that they must not run in the hall for their own safety? Do we discriminate against a biological boy when we tell them they must use the bathroom of their biological sex for the safety of biological females? Is that discrimination, or is it speaking the truth in love? Second, what is the definition of sexual orientation? Every human being orients himself as a male or a female. Their whole life is lived out in that gender, from birth to death. It is an unchangeable characteristic. To try to say differently is a lie. Lies cause great confusion. We do not teach our students lies. We teach them the truth. Living a lie causes anguish, guilt, great distress on many levels: mental, spiritual, physical, psychological, and emotional. Living a lie always harms the individual. Gender lies fracture the whole family structure. They destroy trust in once trusted institutions like education. How can a student trust a teacher or books when they are speaking lies or half-truths one day? What if they tell them the truth tomorrow? Why should they believe them? Lies mess with the brain. They destroy trust. They do not prepare students to become lifelong learners, caring individuals, or responsible citizens. Be strong, board. Do the right thing. Correct our gender policy plan for the sake of our children. Thank you.
Both of the questions that you asked in your reading there are well defined in statute. So you might want to take a look at that. The disclaimer that I typically read ahead of time, I'll read now. The opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints expressed by the various speakers during community communications do not necessarily reflect the opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints of individual board members, the board as a whole, or the school district of the Menomonie area, nor do they reflect the official policies of the SDMA. Personnel consent agenda. There's nothing there. That's an agenda I didn't like. On to the action agenda. Intervention programming and staffing.
I have a quick question.
We need a
motion first.
Second first.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to what? That was my question.
Action.
To approve,
Excuse me.
to approve the
To
intervention
approve the
programming.
intervention plan.
Does that mean, I'll second. But I'm curious if that means that the motion is to approve the plan to continue as at a previous level.
Yes, you can see
Okay.
that, Brian, the recommendation is included in here. What page was that? Was that page 3? This is the same,
Okay.
this is the same item that the board reviewed at the last meeting, and I believe there's been no changes, Brian.
Yes, that's right.
So, where's the recommendation, Brian?
On page 2 and 3, the
Oh, I see. It's in the chart.
fourth column has the recommended staffing levels, which are the same as they currently are. So no increase, decrease from current staffing.
So we're approving no change to the plan.
Great, thank you. That was what.
Correct. The big thing, and we talked about this last time, the big thing is whether or not the board wants to continue investing in intervention staffing. We went through, the expense of it. We also went through the need and the justification for it. And, there's a lot of uncertainty at the state with the budget that we discussed. But we also talked about the impact of this program. And the recommendation is, at least for another year, to continue with this level of programming and staffing for academic interventions in the SDMA.
Yeah, I did second. I'm sorry. I thank you for that clarification. I guess I misunderstood the column headings and didn't, for some reason in my mind, it wasn't clear what the motion was for, or what the motion would be for.
If I heard it correctly, Angie had the motion, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And Rachel the second. Okay, any other discussion? All right, let's vote.
Is it not coming through, Dale?
Got it now.
Great. Must have been slippery on the way over.
Okay, and the motion passes 9-0. On to the bathroom concessions building project update.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommended budget not to exceed $116,249 for the changes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Joe, could you just talk about the timeline a little bit? This original project was approved prior to the previous election, so half the board, or a third of the board was different at that time. So just kind of, if you could just give a quick reminder of the scope of the project and then why this variance is coming up now.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Abe. As you know, like Abe said, last year the board approved making improvements at the outdoor sports complex by Menomonie High School that's used for a number of different activities, events, academics. And much of that project was completed last summer and into the fall. It was kind of staged in two stages. And then the second part of the project is to build a building out there that will include restrooms, a small concession stand area, and really that's about it. The bids came back last week, and with construction prices running according to point of beginning, 20 to 30% higher over the past 24 months. Also in the planning of the building, it was decided that it was very important to include a unisex/family restroom as part of that building. And then also the roof, it's recommended to put on a metal roof to give it more durability, have it last longer, and to match the other facilities that are over there. The project is very, very close to being on budget, but with those increases, we felt that it was important to move forward. Anytime you're doing a project of this scope, it's typical to carry a 10% contingency fund. So $76,208 would be the contingency for this project. We are hopeful that none or very little of that would be needed, but I also didn't feel it'd be responsible to move forward without having contingency in this project. So between the contingency fund and then the changes to the project, this is being brought to the board to see if the board would like to move forward in that manner, or if the board would like to have things, like the unisex bathroom cut out of the project to ensure that it comes in within budget. So the motion tonight is to allow for a variance of $116,249, of which I'm hoping a majority of that will not need to be spent.
Any other discussion?
Just to clarify for the public, typically we would be discussing this at one meeting and voting on it at the next, is that correct? But because of the timeline of the bids, it's important to kind of get it done?
Right, on this item I wouldn't say it'd be typical, but most items in the district it is. But the fact that the bids came in last week, and the fact that we're hoping to break ground as soon as we can in the spring, that's why this specific issue is timely, so yes.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, if I remember correctly, the discussing at one meeting and voting on at the next is a past practice but not a policy, correct?
I think there's some mention in policy of how board meetings are conducted, but it certainly is not any legal requirement. I think labeling as a past practice may be a most effective way to do it.
Any other discussion? Amy, I'm sorry?
My concern is with the possibility of taking the stuff at the table or the area for the concession stand. Is that going to have an issue on food safety?
Oh, so one of the items is included in the concession stand called some casework, like you said, which would be a table. So yeah, if the board does not approve this, we would strip down the concession area as well. I think we could save, I can't remember how much, but we could save some dollars by,
$11,800.
okay, $11,800 by taking out the casework. But yeah, that could be a concern because we would either have something homemade in there or we would find some other type of furniture to put in there as needed. So what they have designed there will be up to code.
Okay, so to clarify, we're doing it as is with everything that's in here, the unisex bathroom,
Yes.
okay, everything. Okay, I just want to make sure because the way it was in here, it acted like we needed to decide if we wanted it or not. So I just wanted to make sure that that was the case.
I just want to say, I'm always a fan of building things right. It's worth a little bit of extra expense to get things done right. For me personally, I'm currently about to re-roof my house, definitely going for metal roof, it's totally worth it, right? So, yeah, I think I'm happy with this. I think that, you know, seeing the construction costs firsthand of things increasing over the last year, projects I had last year versus this year, definitely this is, actually I'm surprised it's only this much of a variance compared to what it could have been.
I was too.
Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. No, yes, let's vote, yes. Okay, we're voting. Be surprised what cough medicine does to you. And the motion passes 9-0. Discussion items, the clerk's report of the results of the primary election.
Thank you, Charlie. The Board of Canvassers met Friday, February 24th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in this room. There were 8,390 total votes. Riddle Swanson, 1,688. Dalkey, 1,563. Kirsten, 1,325. Waker, 1,022. Parker, 1,004. Schneider, 940. Macheski, 811, and write-ins, 37. The canvassers determined that the candidates are Dale Bulkey, Amy Riddle Swanson, Scott Parker, Amber Kirsting, Charlie Schneider, and Brittany Waker be placed in the spring election ballot for April 4th, 2023. After the Board of Canvassers met, Lisa Keys drew names from a hat to determine, well, from a box, actually, not a hat, to determine the order for the spring election. Abe Smith and Jenny Meisel were the only observers in attendance for the drawing. The ballot will list the candidates in the following order. First, Scott Parker. Second, Amy Riddle Swanson. Third, Charlie Schneider. Fourth, Brittany Waker. Fifth, Dale Belkey. Sixth, Amber Kirsting. Please vote.
Any discussion on that?
Please vote April 4th. So we have to stop.
All right, on to the CISA shared services contracts. I am currently employed as the interim agency administrator at CISA 10, and the part of the CISA 11 contract is actually something that CISA 11 purchases from CISA 10. So I am going to leave the room while you discuss the next two agenda items, and I will return when you get on to item D.
Thanks, Charlie. Moving on to the CISA 10 shared services. Very good, Carl.
Contract.
I didn't want him to know.
Yeah, this time of year, this is a standard operating procedure item. Both CISA 10 and CISA 11 provide us with our proposal for services in the following year. Starting with the CISA 10 contract, CISA 10 is located in Chippewa Falls. There's a lot of services that are replicated between the different CISAs. However, CISA 10, and this is what Charlie was alluding to, they have services that have to do with our facility and let's see here, and E-rate as well. So in this contract here, Katie Krieger, our Director of Technology, is recommending that we continue having our E-rate and technology planning services go through CISA 10. So you can see the cost there, $5,250. This allows us to capture a lot of funds for E-rate for our technology program. So I believe that's it for CISA 10. CISA 11, because that's the CISA that actually covers our school district, there's a number of other services, and the directors review these contracts and they provide a recommendation. You can see that most of the items are simply either required, such as the administrative, cooperative bidding and purchasing and delivery service, or they're items that are being renewed, like the comprehensive consulting and networking services, the health, safe, respectful school services. We are looking to add the Innovative Teaching and Learning Consortium, continuing with Supporting Students with Disabilities Network, And then the last piece there is the one that Charlie mentioned about CISA 10 purchasing essentially through CISA 11 purchasing through CISA 10, which we then purchased from CISA 11. You can see the environmental health and safety. And the cost on that is approximately $6,000. It's a square footage type of adjustment. So we're not asking the board to approve these tonight, but we are showing the board what the recommendation is, and we look forward to your consideration at the next meeting. Any questions?
Yes, my question just is, with the only new one being the innovative teaching and learning, can you just kind of hit on what that is?
Brian, do you want to cover that, please?
Yes, so at the high school level, we utilize, for some of our courses, a program that is called Moodle, which is similar in nature to Google Classroom, but does have some features that Google Classroom does not have. So we purchased that on a per student basis up at high school.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious, on the CISA 11 contract, there is a line item for E-rate services. So, and I'm just curious what the reason is that we purchased that through CISA 10.
You know, Katie is not able to join us tonight, but I think the main reason being is that we are part of the SYNC network, the Chippewa Valley Consortium for Networking, and CISA 10 has been a major player with that. And I think just the geographic location is the reason. If there's other items, Katie could speak to those before the board approves them on March 20th.
I'm not concerned, I was just
I
curious.
know.
That's my first time looking
It's a
at
good
you, it's
question.
interesting.
Any other questions? Discussion on CISA 10 or 11? We did B and C kind of together there. If not, you want to grab Charlie and we'll move on to item D, MHS course recommendations for 2023-24.
Better wait.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Brian, if you'd like, you can go ahead and introduce this item, please.
All right, so this item is an annual process where any courses that are less than 15, or have enrollment requests less than 15, that high school administration would be asking to run in board policy. Any class that we do want to run less than 15 would require action. Something we're not asking you to approve tonight, but would be coming back at the next meeting. Principal Drake is here. There are specific courses, or I should say specific questions related to any of the courses. What I will say is, we are starting to see a downward trend in the number of classes less than 15 that we're asking to approve, which is a nice thing. One course that is on this list, our AP physics class, you'll see that one has, I believe it's 7 students that are signed up for that. We do, when we have a class like that that has pretty low numbers, we do take a look at how many students are seniors that are enrolled as well as juniors to make a determination as to whether or not it would make sense to run that on an every other year basis. This one, we have a pretty even split, 4 and 3. So, when we take a look at providing that opportunity off-site through another measure, we feel that it would make sense to offer that course for next school year. So if there are any specific questions, Casey is here as well.
I haven't looked at the AP physics curriculum in about 10 years, but at some point I did very carefully. You also have a BC calculus as well. What's the enrollment in that approximately?
Yeah, Casey, you want to come on up?
Oh, sorry, physics, that's what I meant to say, physics, yes.
Physics, there's one.
Just, okay,
Yeah, one kid for the,
okay. So it's eight total for those
correct.
combined, okay. Are those usually like taught in the same environment, just a question of which test they take, or do you actually enroll them separately?
So it's a new switch for this current year. Prior to this, it was a double block class. That would be like 2 class periods all year long.
Mhm.
So all of those kids would be together and get all that content. This year, this time, a year and a half ago, they went through and decided to split those 2 and hope to increase enrollment a little bit. So they actually ran the classes as 2 separate classes where kids could take one like AB or CD or both. So this would be, the upcoming year would be the second year of doing it that way. You know, based on these numbers, we haven't seen a real big increase in numbers of kids that.
Okay, thanks, yeah. I'm always curious in the more advanced classes, how, it's always smaller numbers in the advanced classes. Obviously, it's a smaller set of students, and so always trying to figure out how to balance that classroom in a way that people are getting what they're, what they can take advantage of. So just curious. Thanks.
Any other questions or discussion?
Is the contemporary voice and musical theater the new offering where we've comboed something or changed from?
So,
Casey, grab your microphone,
Yeah.
please. Thank you.
there, okay. So actually, the advanced theater classes, the combo, so previously we had advanced theater acting and then advanced theater technical. And so those are two split classes in the past. Mr. Singer, who's our new choir and theater teacher, wanted to combine those, and combining those two into one advanced theater class that teaches both the theater, the acting side of it, and the technical side. He also then wanted to offer a new course, which is a contemporary voice and musical theater. So it's the same number of advanced theater-based classes, but just a little bit different way in which he wanted to organize them.
So it's not overly surprising that a brand new course is going to grow, probably, folks don't know what it is, haven't heard anything about it.
That would be my assumption too.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Thank you. It's good to see that list is smaller, more courses being offered, more kids signing up. That's great. All right, onward to legislative advocacy.
So in the board's background packet, you can see a few items. First of all, there's a letter, or a recent update sent to families, and in that update I shared information about the district budget, and I know we had a very lengthy discussion about that recently here at our board meeting. But in addition to that, I also added a letter that the superintendents at CISA 11, which I'm involved with, put together just to try to explain the budget situation to our communities. And I don't know how much time the board would like to spend, but I'd be happy to read that letter if that's okay with people. Any objections to that? Okay, so first of all, CISA 11 is made up of 39 school districts serving over 48,500 children in communities across northern and western Wisconsin. In the letter states that public education is a source of pride in Wisconsin. Experiences, opportunities, and academic excellence within our public schools lead the nation. The ACT exam is a nationwide objective measure of college and career readiness. High school students from our state consistently perform at the highest levels on this important exam. Over 93% of Wisconsin's class of 2022 high school students took the ACT exam. This level of participation is much higher than the national average. Wisconsin ranks number 2 in academic outcomes for states where at least 90% of students took the ACT exam. And I'm just going to pause for a second. Some of the information that's been put out about schools in Wisconsin really has painted an unfair lens comparing ACT scores. And what it fails to capture is that we are one of the states that tests every student that wants to take it. And most of the students, I think it said that our level of participation was 93%. That's well beyond what most states have. So it's really important to compare apples to apples, and a lot of the rhetoric out there does not. So I'll continue. While there's much to celebrate about the accomplishments of our state's public schools, a detrimental shift in the state's funding for public education has taken place. With Wisconsin's public schools continuing to receive top academic rankings in the nation, educational funding for student programming, maintaining school facilities, as well as recruiting and retaining high-quality staff members has now fallen below the national average. Where Wisconsin's per pupil funding for public education ranked among the nation's top 11 states in 2002, it has fallen to 25th place as of 2020, with funding now below the national average. The current Wisconsin biennial budget has provided public schools with a $0 increase on per pupil funding over the past 2 years. This has left school districts to contend with the twin pressures of COVID and runaway inflation with no additional state resources. Federal dollars from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund have buoyed Wisconsin schools on an emergency basis. However, these federal funds are only temporary and will not be available into the future. If current financial conditions are allowed to continue, Wisconsin's public schools will face a fiscal cliff. We encourage community members to reach out to your local superintendent to learn more. Stagnant state funding has shifted more of the cost of educating children onto each of the communities. Of the 424 school districts in Wisconsin, 83% have had capital referendum in the past 10 years, and 50% held a referendum since 2020. This at a time when our state has a record budget surplus of over $7 billion on hand. So your help is needed. With our state school districts being squeezed financially and a $7 billion budget surplus on hand, it's time for our legislatures to take action in support of public schools. Now more than ever, your voice is needed. Please take the opportunity to reach out to your elected officials in Madison for better funding for our public schools. Thank you for your support of public education in our community and state. Sincerely, the CISA 11 superintendents. So along with that, I included a link. I know Representative Moses, in one of his recent publications, had a link where he was asking for public feedback on legislative priorities. So I shared that with families. So hopefully people took advantage of that. But I think board members, you're all well aware of this. It's just a matter of making sure that our community is well aware of it as well.
Thanks, Charlie. I think that's a very good statement. I'm glad CISA 11 put that together, and all your colleagues across the region. One thing I noted as follow-up is that in the wake of the governor's presentation of his budget proposal, the Wisconsin State Legislature put together a joint finance committee that's now assembled. So in case anyone's curious, the members of that committee, who are going to be the ones who decide what the budget looks like, are Representative Bourne, Senator Markline, Representative Kotzma, Senator Struble, Senator Felskowski, Senator Ballweg, Senator Teston, Senator Wimberger, Senator Johnson from Milwaukee, Senator Royce, Representative Zimmerman, Representative Rodriguez, Representative Kurtz, Representative Dahlman, Representative Goike, and Representative McGuire. I believe the closest one to our region is Representative Zimmerman, who's from River Falls. But in terms of who are going to be the heavy hitters who are going to set those budget priorities and are in the room for all those discussions, that's the list it's going to be. So certainly, our local representatives are extremely important in this as well. But when you think about who's going to be writing those bills, it's going to be that set of people.
Any other discussion on that?
Charlie, if any board members would like to participate in WASB's Day at the Capitol, I did share information in your background. Please contact either me or Jenny, and we can help you register for that if you're interested. And then I also included a link to the Capitol Chat webinar.
I've been trying to tune into the Capitol Chat webinar. I haven't quite gotten most weeks, but it's really interesting. I've been enjoying paying attention to that, so I recommend it. It doesn't go on for very long, which is nice. Kind of something you could have on in the background too. Regarding the WASB Day at the Capitol, is there any kind of virtual option for that, or it's just going to Madison?
I do not believe there's a virtual option.
Oh, thanks.
It is on March 22nd, and yeah, it's down in Madison.
I would love to go to that. Unfortunately, I will be in North Carolina on a business trip that was pre-scheduled before I knew this date. But I really hope some members of our board can go there and be part of that.
As part of my job, about a week and a half ago, I took 9 CISA 10 administrators to Madison for the day and walked the halls of the Capitol, meeting with, I think, a dozen different legislators. It was a very interesting day. I would say somewhat at least disappointing. We didn't have anybody say, yes, let's go, kind of thing, even the Democrats. So it was, like I said, somewhat disappointing. But I think, if nothing else, it was enlightening to them. And I think that keeping that relationship with the legislators is important. That at least they know that we're here and can put a face if you will, to it. They were all very, very cordial and very, we met with most of them longer than we had planned. They sat and listened for well into an hour, many of them, and talked about a lot of different things facing schools. But as you said, Abe, that joint finance committee is really where it's at, and those hearings will be coming up before long as well. But it was a good day at the Capitol, but a lot of work is yet to be done. Yes, Joe.
And not to discount the value of the Joint Finance Committee, because Abe's right, I mean, they're the group that's ultimately going to vote, but in terms of writing the budget, I do not agree that the Joint Finance Committee is going to be writing the budget. And what we've been advised as superintendents is that it's still very, very important to have those discussions with our local representatives, because they still will have a bigger voice in the actual writing of the proposals. But the committee members are the ones that will vote. And I can tell you, Clint Moses has been very, very cordial. I've been speaking with Clint probably once a week. I know him and I had a real quick sidebar at the hockey game on Saturday. So that was kind of nice. But anyway, I would encourage people to reach out to Clint and the Joint Finance Committee. But I do think Clint and the other representatives and senators from our area do carry a pretty good voice in Madison.
Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that the Joint Finance Committee was the only importance. That certainly they're the ones who have to vote on it first. But it's a collaborative effort from the whole legislature.
Right. Any other discussion on advocacy? All right, moving on to reviewing the extracurricular staff contract request.
This is an informational item, a regular routine item. Unless there's any questions, it's for your information.
Any questions or discussion? All right. Items related to the next meetings. All of the committee meetings have happened in the last couple of weeks?
Yes, we had the QIC meetings. We did have a meeting canceled as well. But yes, you can see there's more meetings scheduled in April. Charlie, it's really important to point out though that the March school board meeting schedule is different than normal because of spring break.
So it's not the second or fourth Monday? It's the 20th, of course, spring break the week before. And then QIC meetings, spring election, again, like Gabe said, please vote. And then the joint pack at CISA 11 on April 6th. And then we'll have no school on the 7th, and then board meetings as scheduled. For those of you that are on the committees, the committee schedules are there. Any questions, discussion there?
Can you give a little more enlightenment about that CISA 11 event on the 6th? Is that something that any school board member could attend? What happens? Is it a good idea?
Yes, if we haven't already, I thought maybe we didn't yet. There's a registration for any board member that would like to attend, and they'll have a speaker come in. So there's some networking, there's a speaker, and there's a small dinner as well. So if anybody's interested in attending that, we'll get an email out if we haven't already.
I wasn't super attentive to my email.
It's been a pretty good blur the last few days.
I've been to that before, and it's pretty inspiring, and some of the speakers they've had, and so forth, and plus you get to network with other board members and superintendents from the area, so I would like to recommend that. But what time does it start? Doesn't say on there.
Amy, we'll get an email out. I don't have it memorized.
Okay, I was just
Sorry.
curious because that helps me know some commute, whether I need to go straight home or whatever, there or whatever I decide to go. Thank you.
All right, anything else on that? Would accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Carl, me. We stand adjourned.
There's gotta be something else.